Which do qualitative weakening, sexting and unfriending include in overall? All our regulation how include been added to the overall vocabulary above the history 10 years. But it's the at first of those regulation how has prompted fortunes above how period, and for 30-somethings, not definitely for the superior. It's precisely 10 year with the Banking of England cost qualitative weakening, or QE, as portion of its dramatic save schedule in the depths of the finance meltdown. Love several some centre banks, the banking created digital cash how it utilized to buy holdings such as by the government ties, the forms of loans utilized to foundation social loan, of finance institutions. Thus, these institutions had more than cash. And by growing the consumer demand for by the government ties, the bet of back on these family member to their cost, approximately talk the concern bet pay, or their give, bring down. How should conduct to reduce concern rates through the framework? So in theoretical, banks include more than cash to give, at a low bet of concern, hopeful households and business community to adopt. The banking through £435 bn of cash at QE, a non-traditional and extremely pilot action at a period of unparalleled meltdown. 10 year on, the effects are yet game of. The Banking of England estimates how ultra-low concern rates and QE intended how the ordinary domestic's revenue was £9,000 high rather than it would include bin by 2018. It reasoned how junior human beings in fact benefited largest, as they were more than potential to be in job and confident on salary for revenue. By difference, savers, who tend to be older, acquired insignificant back on their cash. £1 put in an instantaneous accessing expense in 2009 would include gained a full of 8p in concern above the history 10 years. 1 day bloating is undertaken in expense, say Foundation Link Hargreaves Lansdowne, how £1 would be cost fair 87p currently. But the starkest effect of QE has been on riches, the importance of holdings, of habitation to pensions. The cash acquired by finance institutions in back for ties occasionally got diverted in some investment, bulking up the prices of the importance of shares or characteristic, use those already at the top of the wood the largest. In supplement, inexpensive loans future forced consumer demand in the habitation marketplace, for those buyers who could provide to cobblestone along deposits. The outcome was how characteristic prices include rising by 43% above the history 10 years, far more than rather than they would include made in the lack of the disaster injectable of cash. So they've significantly outpaced income increase, purchase your at first characteristic and driving up has got those stronger. A 30 thing present is less than potential to own characteristic rather than their large my grandparents. And the growth in building prices in fact looks rather humble compared in the increase to shares. Shares in the FTSE 100 code include, on ordinary, more than rather than dual in importance above the history 10 years. The major beneficiaries of these growing values would include bin investors, both of individuals and those keeping shares in retirement cash etc. They of year tend to be older, not fair infant boom, but the inferior mentioned general X qualitative weakening may so include stored us of a greater fall in prosper following the finance meltdown. But its remnant include been less than rather than a like share. It's lightweight to sack millennials as supersensitive snowflakes, but the increasing feeling of generational injustice is entrenched in events in that they play no portion. In the ramifications of the finance meltdown, political community advocated strictness as a tool of avoiding saddling next generations in undue concern payments on social obligation. But instead of, those hardly capable to recall the finance meltdown are potential to be saddled in the radioactive fallout of QE. It is they who may be profitable the cost of a action initially executed to range the harm inflicted by wasteful financiers.